Welcome to Deals with Heels, where female entrepreneurs thrive. I'm Deborah, your host. Welcome to the show. We have a great guest, another Deborah. You guys, I know you're excited. I am too, because we are going to talk about mentorship. And that is something I don't know that we've ever talked about on the show before. And it can be so impactful in your business and life journey. So I'm really excited to have Deborah here to tell us all about it. And let's just get in it. Dr. Deborah Heiser is the CEO and founder of the Mentor Project and an applied developmental psychologist. She has been featured at TEDx, Marshall Goldsmith 100 Coaches, Thinkers 500 Radar List, Psychology Today, and is an adjunct professor in the psychology department at SUNY Old Westbury. She is the author of The Mentorship Edge. Please welcome Deborah to Deals with Heels.
Thank you for having me. I'm so delighted to be here.
I'm super excited to have you on the show. I have never really had a mentor necessarily. And so I am excited. I have had people help me and guide me a little bit, but like a true mentor, I don't think I've ever really had that. And I'm super excited to talk about it because I know how impactful it can be. But before we do that, I really would like to talk about your career. You have done some amazing stuff, and I want to hear about a little bit about how you got to where you are and all of those great things. You've accomplished a lot. Tell us about how you did it.
Well, becoming a psychologist was not ever really in my game plan. It wasn't until I went down to visit my grandmother in Florida that I had the real desire. I didn't even know what one was, actually. I went down to visit, and she was one of the super fun grandmas that, I could go down there and wear her clothes, and we'd go out and do fun things, and she was always upbeat. And I went to visit her, and she was not herself. She was grouchy and not looking cute and not fun. And so I said to somebody, "What's wrong with grandma?" And they said, "Oh, this was somebody who was at her independent living facility." And they said, "Don't worry, she'll be fine when you come back next time. We're going to fix her. She is taking a medication for her COPD that isn't working for her, and she's depressed." So I was like, "What is that? And what do you mean?" But I came back a couple of months later to visit her, and she was fine. And so I said, "That's it. I want to
What
be a
kind of
grandma
magic is
fixer."
this?
Exactly. I got her back. And so I really wanted to become a grandma fixer because she was one of the people in my life who I really cared about and thought, wow, if they could make her come back as she was, and I got to have her, everyone should have their grandma. And so
I wish I had my grandma.
I know, grandmas are wonderful, aren't they? Like,
I'm a grandma. I'm a grandma.
that's so cool.
I am the fun grandma.
And that's so important.
It
And so
is.
imagine your grandchild and how much fun they have with you. And then one day you're not yourself. And I don't know that she ever knew her impact, but I can tell you how I felt that I needed her to be herself. So
And whatever that cool magic is, I want to know how to do it.
right? Exactly. So then I decided to switch my major, took a longer path to get my degree, and went into the field of psychology to look at everything no one wants to have or get, thinking that was what it was all about, was fixing problems. And then I excitedly went, after doing research for a while, studying things like depression and frailty and dementia and all sorts of end of life things. I went to a dinner party and was so excited to tell everybody about my new book coming out. And it was on like end of life and, the work that I was doing. And it landed flat because, who thinks that's cool?
The people that need it right then, I don't know that they think it's cool, but they want it.
That's true. It's the thing that nobody wants to talk about, though.
You're right about that.
So I get there and somebody says across from me, which was an aha moment for me, "What do we have to look forward to in life?" And I thought, "What do you mean?" And he said, "You're just putting a Band-Aid on the things that we don't want. Is that all? Are all those things you're studying the things we are going to look forward to?" And I was like, "Well, no, like no, you get depression, you get it fixed, and, all of these things. So I had a hard look at what I was doing and decided to look at what we have to look forward to. And that was my pivot to look at our lifespan, right? From birth to death. What is it that we look forward to, and why do we look forward to it? Because most people think it's scary to grow older. And I found the most amazing things that we have to look forward to when I did a deep dive into research and started to pivot the way I looked at aging. And that was pretty exciting for me. And that was part of my journey, was always sort of hitting a stage where there was an aha moment and then pivoting and saying, let me know more. And that next step where I said, I'm going to look at everything that we have to look forward to, led me to the research that was being done by Harvard and Stanford, and some of the developmental research on life stages and how in midlife we hit a stage called generativity. And that means that we're expecting to care for others and have this built in desire to care for others without expecting anything in return. And I thought, how can that be? And then I thought, you know what? When you have a baby and they cry, you're not like, hey, you better do something for me if I soothe you. We have that built in desire that
Especially as
most of us,
women, right? Especially
yes,
as
but men
women, we
too.
give, 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 take care of everybody else. I was really good at taking care of everybody else, and I did a great job. And then suddenly I was the only person left to take care of.
Wow. That's an aha moment, isn't it?
It really was. My mother had passed away. All five of my kids had left the nest. My marriage had fallen apart. And there I was, just a ghost of myself, my true self. And I was the only one left to take care of. And I had no idea how to do it.
Wow. Now
No
that
idea.
that is, you know what? You are so not alone in that. There are so many people that hit that.
Yes, I
And
found that
wow.
I started completely over in my 50s. My ex-husband gambled our life savings away, and I'm still having repercussions from that. And I was frail. I'm somebody that stress doesn't eat instead of stress eat. And I got all the way down to about 114 pounds. And for reference, I weigh about 138. So, and I'm pretty slim. And I was always an athlete. I was used to feeling strong. And I was in my early 50s and I felt frail. And I would bring home dinner and sit on my bed and eat it until I went to sleep. And that was what I did. And I was really lost after the death of my mother. And I said, you know what? I have a lot left to do. And how am I going to do it if I feel like this? So that was the catalyst for me to change my life. And I started my advertising agency in 22. And then I started my podcast in 23. And today I am more in my own skin than I have been in 2 decades. And so it is, I don't take care of my dogs, I've got 2 dogs. They're my only kids that live at home still. And my oldest daughter, my biological daughter, she gave me my granddaughter she'll be 2 in July. And so I am just living my best life. And it took me a long time to get here and find my voice. And I'm wondering if I would have found a mentor, if I would have made it through. I did all of that by myself. I found my way through. I mean, I got into grief counseling. I had a counselor and he definitely helped me. He helped me figure out a lot of things. But I wondered if I would have had a mentor, if I would have come through it faster, or if it maybe would have been easier. Definitely not somebody who sits back and thinks about what ifs. I spent a fair amount of time when all of that happened. What if I'd have done this? And what if I'd have done this? And but that solves nothing. And so I had to really let go of all of those things. And honestly, I don't regret anything that happened to me. Some things were incredibly painful. I spent what felt like an eternity on my knees crying. And I don't regret the things that I'm not proud of. And those are definitely in there as well. And the reason I don't regret them is because they brought me to this place. It's like that John Legend song, my history brought me to this place.
Mhm, mhm.
And I like it here. I, for the first time, feel like I'm in my own skin. I'm making decisions based solely on what I want to do. And I really have never done that. Not since I was in college, I don't think. And even then, there's a little bit of trepidation when you're young, you're nervous. And so I probably wasn't doing exactly what I wanted to do. But today, at 58 years old, I'm doing exactly what I want to do. And if I don't want to do it, I'm not doing it. And of course, I'm not mean or callous, and I do enjoy helping others and taking care of people, but it's under my terms and it's not people pleasing. And it made a huge difference in my life. And I have people that I help, and I don't know if I'm mentoring them or not, but through that kind of finding yourself process and changing your mindset, what I did was change my mindset, how I looked at life, how I looked at myself, how I looked at the things that happened to me in my life. And that's what I did. I changed my life that way. And it, with the help of a psychologist like you.
Well, you just talked about midlife. Now, when people are in midlife, they think, "Oh, I don't know what I have to look forward to. Like, I'm wearing reading glasses. I never had to before." And so we think of the physical journey that we take. Yeah, there you
I've
go.
got mine. I can't see the
I
screen
know, me
without them,
too.
with them. And so I have to put them on and read
Exactly. But
and then take them off. And
But when you hit midlife, it's this time like you described. It's you time, right? This is when we get to step up and say, you know what? I'm going to do what I want. I'm going to care for somebody without expecting something in return. You're doing a podcast. Everyone that's out there that listens is your mentee. You're dropping wisdom. You're the apple tree. They're picking up the fruit from your tree, which is the wisdom you're giving through the podcast. Most people don't think of that as mentorship, but it's a modern form of mentorship. This is new since COVID that everybody's, out
it is.
doing podcasts, but it is a form in midlife of us saying, you know what? I have learned things and I want to give that away to others. There's value in both my mistakes and the things I did right. There's value in what I have learned over the course of my decades being here. And that's really, the midlife and mentoring come together at the same time, where we have just enough wisdom that we say, this is what I want to give now. And I now have the built in desire to do that. So that you said at 50, I have this new way of looking at things. You did that right on time, developmentally. You hit that stride just like a baby starts to walk or talk. And we don't know to expect this. We expect glasses or not to run as fast or, all of the things that we can think of physically that don't feel great. But emotionally, this is our time to rise emotionally. So our emotional trajectory starts at birth and it goes up and never goes down. And our physical journey goes up and then it has a long, slow, steady decline. And we think our emotions match with that, but they don't. So here you were, you had all these things that you were saying, these are things that could be troubling. These were not things you asked for or wanted. But here you are and you're okay and you are just fine, and that's what we should expect, that these bumps in the road are temporary and that you're still going to get your stride back. And you had grief counseling, you had other people in your life that helped you, and I have a hunch you were both mentoring and being mentored at the same time, because our mentors are not always just this nameless, faceless person out there that's above us that's going to pull us up. It's everyone around us, the people that we know and care about, who we feel comfortable enough to say, I'm going to tell them something I'm too vulnerable to tell somebody else, but I trust them and I'm going to confide in them. And then I will trust their wisdom to me, to give that to me. You have probably done that to others, but we never acknowledge that. And that's a big no-no for all of us, because we expect mentorship to be like a big fireworks display. And oftentimes it's something smaller that we disregard as collaboration or being nice or a kindness or a gesture, things like that, that make it so that we don't get to feel the goodness that comes from it.
I think that for me, I thought of it as a process, right? As opposed to just something that is just happening as a give and take every day. When I have a conversation with somebody, I'm just a natural. My daughter said I was an explaining parent. I explained things. Well, we don't do that. And here's why. Well, if this, I explain why and how to do things. That is my natural personality. And so I think that probably I am doing that and figuring things out. I also think, I think of, I think a lot of people think of mentorship as one sided,
Oh, it's
but
not.
it's not, because your
No.
mentor is a person. And for you to be able to really connect with them, their vulnerability has to be there too.
Oh, yeah.
And I I know that there a great example is my one of my sons. He was the youngest of the original 4, and he's my biological son, and in fact, today's his birthday. He turned 27. Happy
Yeah.
birthday, Luke. And he told me something that has stuck with me. Um, and I hadn't thought of it this way, but he had had a conflict with his brother, and he said, I hope he knows that I am more than my mistakes. So much wisdom from such a young fella.
Yeah.
He was maybe 22 when he told me that.
Wow.
And that is so true. We all are more than our mistakes. We all have a bad day. We all have things that happen individually and in business. So
Oh, for sure.
I think you put a new kind of way of looking at mentorship in business too. We always think about that as collaboration, or I'll have a one-to-one with somebody that's a referral partner or a peer, and we have a conversation that helps one another. And, or maybe this conversation, I'm helping them instead of vice versa. So in that relationship for this one meeting, I was the mentor
Yes.
helping them through that. So
Yeah, it's those little things that we disregard. And those are usually the biggest igniters because they're lateral mentors. So a lateral mentor is somebody who's not your boss. They don't have any kind of authority over you. And those are the ones where you can open up and you can say, you know what, I'm going to tell this person I'm insecure about whatever I'm working on or that I need help. Like if I'm a software engineer and I say to you, hey, hardware engineer, I need to have your help to solve a problem so I can move forward with what I'm working on. That doesn't feel intimidating. That feels easy because you can say, sure, let me help you. There's no competition there. You're not going to be taking something from somebody or getting some kind of glory that somebody else should have had. You're not taking a raise away. So when we think of mentorship, most of us think of it as hierarchical. And one way, this nameless, faceless person is going to give us all the wisdom we need. And yippee, we're going to be rising up. But most of us rise up based on the people around us and the smaller interactions, which could be an example is the father of the network firewall, Bill Cheswick, said he was tasked with creating the network firewall back in the day before we had one. He did as much as he could. He was an engineer at Bell Labs. And then he said, I've gotten as far as I can. And this is how we all are. We only know what we know. So he used his wheelie chair and wheelied himself down to Steve Bellevin's desk. And he said, Steve, I think you know some of the things that might help me on my project. And Steve was already working on his project that he had to do. It didn't help Steve to help Bill. But of course, he turned around and was like, yeah, sure, I'll see what I can do. Let me take a look. And then he started to teach Bill what he needed to learn to help him on his project. He was doing that for a long time. And then finally, the network firewall came along. And then the two of them together wrote the book, the first internet securities book. And this is how it works in every office place around. This is how it works everywhere with entrepreneurs, with sales, with anything. It's the person that you feel comfortable with that you turn to. Now, Steve and Bill didn't think of this as mentorship. They were thinking of this as, well, it's somebody who helped me with something I didn't know how to do. And
that
then when
is
you break it down, they're like, oh, yeah. And when we know we're doing it, we can say thank you to that person right? Which makes them feel like, wow, I was important here, as opposed to someone who just tossed out some information. But they were both needed in each case. Steve Bellevin felt like, you need my help. It feels good when somebody asks you, they see you as an expert. You're like, me? I'm an expert. You want my help? Sure, I'll help you. And for Bill, he got to feel like, this guy's not going to judge me. He never told his boss he didn't know what he was doing, but he told Steve. And
You
that's
just went
kind
and
of,
got help from somebody.
yeah.
And do you think that men do that more easily than women?
No, they do it differently.
Okay.
Women are built to do this. You put any mom on something out there in the world and they will get a problem solved. It doesn't matter how complex it is, how much you have to integrate into that thing. They will call everybody they know and they will say, okay, all right, done. And that will happen. Men just do it a little bit differently. They use just different words. Like Bill wheeled himself down on the hall and said, hey, can you teach me this? But women have always been doing that. It is much more subtle. And it is where you will see women that will come together to make school functions happen. They will get, things happening within families. It just has a softer feel to it in many ways
Mm-hmm.
that will often get overlooked as not being mentorship, but it is.
Right. Because women are natural leaders. We're also very hard on each other and ourselves too. And I have found I have a strong personality. I can be pretty intense sometimes and blunt. I'm real nerdy and I hide it very well behind cuteness. But if I didn't want to look cute, I would have unmatching wrinkle clothes and a pocket protector
That's really
because that's
funny.
how nerdy I am. And so sometimes, because I'm so like this all the time, but if you catch me on the right spot where I'm focused on something else and you ask me a question or something, and I will be like Sheldon on the
Ah,
TV show and I will just say it and I won't have any feelings about it at all. I've just said it directly and honestly and bluntly. And sometimes that's a first initial response, which may not even be how I do feel about it because I don't have any feelings about it at the time, but it's almost always misinterpreted as me being upset with somebody or angry because it's such a contrast to how I normally am every day. So having that kind of intense personality, and I can get loud and intense. And it's taken me a long time 57 years. I'm 58. I did it last year. Was able to really accept that part of myself as essential. She's essential. She's smart and knows how to get things done and does not pull punches. It's important to have her around. She cannot be in charge. We cannot let her be in charge. I think that if she were in charge, she would never mentor anybody. Right? That there's a certain
you don't
amount
know.
of and I think sometimes I don't know if it's the cliquish or and it may just be that it's different and I'm not thinking of it as mentorship, but that is my mom mentored me, my teachers, everybody kind of helps you along the way.
People do help you along the way. And there's also mentorship is an emotional thing.
Okay.
It's not like networking, right? It's not a transaction. It's emotional. So your personality style doesn't matter. You're going to find somebody else who resonates with that personality
It's
style,
the
right?
connection that
Right.
matters, how
That's
you
what is
feel.
important.
Okay, that
So
makes sense because of the vulnerability.
there are 5 things that really matter with mentoring. One is that you have to be generative. You have to be able to say, I want to give something back. Now, like we know you wanted to do that. You started a podcast. That's key indicator. You want to give something back. That and you're hoping that someone says, "Hey, I want what you're giving. I'm going to take this," right? That's the first key thing. That's generativity. The second thing is we have to do it for an intrinsic motivation. And this is both the mentor and the mentee. So if you're being paid, you're not a mentor. You're doing your job well if you are engaging in something that feels like mentorship. So if you're at work and people will say, "Well, I'm a leader and a mentor." No, 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 that's good leadership. If people will say, "Oh, no, 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 I'm a coach and a mentor." No, you're coaching well. That's
That's like
what you're
I'm
supposed to be doing.
saying I'm a mom and a mother.
Right. My mother-in-law always had a saying. She says, "You don't get extra credit for loving your children. You're supposed to." And That's kind of what it is. We're supposed to be doing these sorts of things that are in some of our roles. But mentorship comes from if I were to say to you, hey, would you like to give back at a soup kitchen, giving out food and beverage to hungry, thirsty people? You might say, that makes me feel good to do that. But if I said to you, hey, Deborah, I know you're on your way, turn left and go donate your time at Starbucks instead, giving out food and beverage for free there, it has a different feel. And
Yes.
that's because you expect an extrinsic, thing like money if you go and do that behavior there. And that's what happens in the workplace. If you are being paid and someone says, now you must mentor someone, it feels like a burden. It doesn't feel like you're having the natural interaction.
Well, there is no connection if somebody just told you to do
Right.
it.
Yeah. And it doesn't feel right. And then you also need to have a meaningful connection. We could meet right now and be like, very nice person, but that's not my person. And so that doesn't mean anything wrong, but we have to find our people that we say
Yes.
that person resonates to me. So anybody who follows your show, for example, is saying that is a meaningful connection for me. I am meaningfully connected to Deborah and her show. And if we're in a workplace, that's the same sort of thing. We also need to trust. So if I felt like I was in a workplace and I told somebody above me that I didn't know how to do something, I might not trust that person and think, well, they're going to not give me a promotion. They're
Or
going to
use it
think poorly
against
of me.
me.
Yeah, exactly. And likewise, if I'm somebody who is going to mentor someone, and I think they're going to take my information and run off with my idea and use it on their own and throw me under the bus, I'm not going to want to work with that person. And then finally, there needs to be a goal. So we need all of these things together to make it really work. It's like baking brownies and leaving the sugar out. It'll look like it, but it won't taste like it. Mentorship is like that. It's got that complexity to it that isn't quite as simple as just I'm going to talk to you and you're going to talk to me. We have to have that emotional connection there. That's different from coaching. Coaching, you don't have to have that. You don't have to have that with an advisor. You don't have to have that with other roles that we take on with people that are part of our job or that we're getting paid to do. Mentorship is an emotional thing that we have to feel in order for it to work.
You kind of have a knack for setting people up with really top successful people to mentor them. How do you like, because of the psychologist, right? You can see when personalities are met.
No, it's interesting. I thought maybe it would have to be like that, but we did the Mentor Project testing. The Mentor Project is an organization where we bring the top 1% to mentor students around the world for free. And we are working off of the principle of generativity. So mentors come to us and they say, we'd like to mentor.
We like to give
And when they
back and
do, we have it set up so that we really encourage people to get 5 or 6, go for as many as you can. You don't know what that magic is going to be that you might get with somebody. And, don't expect that this is going to come in and you're going to be like blown away with fireworks. It is just like making a friend where you have to put it in the effort, as the mentee. So people come in and they meet a bunch of people, and we're always surprised by those who end up finding each other. It can be people that you would never imagine, but they end up finding some core thing that, between the two of them is just what the two needed.
I got
And that's kind of
chills.
exciting.
I got chills when you said that. I honestly got chills because it's such an important thing when you think about how real connection happens.
Yeah.
You don't know that that's what it's going to be until you talk to them and get to know them. And
Hmm.
Christina, that all of the audience knows, my former co-host, I had known her 3 months when we started our podcast. We just clicked.
Yep.
And
That's the magic of it.
I had seen her out networking and met her and said hello. And I did have like a feeling like when you meet someone, I want to meet them. You kind of
Yeah.
just get like it's their image or whatever, their frequency, whatever it is coming off of them. And we definitely felt that. But we sat down finally for a 1-to-1 and had our meeting, her promoting her business and me mine, talking about how we could help each other. And we connected. And the rest is history. She's one of my very best friends. She's 20 years younger than me. And she has helped me in so many ways. And I've helped her too. So that's like the perfect example
Yeah.
of, because somebody asked, well, are you her mentor? And I was like, well, no, she's helped me in so many ways. I wouldn't
You're both
consider it.
lateral mentors.
Yes,
Isn't that nice to know that you impact each other's lives like that?
it is. And of course, when you get to be our age, we have multiple people that now, as I think back, those symbiotic relationships are so important. And if it's one way, it doesn't feel good. And it
No.
probably wouldn't for the mentorship either, to not have that feedback coming back.
You have to have that, or it doesn't you're right, it doesn't feel like it. And when you have like, you had that magical moment with Christina,
Mhm.
that's what we are all craving and looking for, and we feel like we have to look for somebody above us. And like you were at a networking event, that's a great place to find a mentor because you can say, "I haven't asked for this. Can you tell me, what you think?" You're able to feel people out to see, is this a person that might be able to help me, whether it's for one tiny thing or something much longer. And it allows you to meet people that you would never have in your circle normally. But we all are connected with people that we don't realize are mentors. Like when your son was giving wisdom, that you said, wow, what a lot of wisdom for somebody who's young. We all have stuff in us that we don't realize with the people who are closest to us because we see them all the time. So, we might
That
not even
is
realize it.
true. That is so true. You have so much good stuff. So if you had somebody that, if there's going to be somebody out there listening thinking, I don't have any of that in my life and I want it. I need that in my life. What are some tips for finding that? Like we talked about networking, and there are mostly business people that are listeners. So networking events are obviously a good place to go find like-minded people, but what else is there?
Some of the greatest networking that has happened, or, in ways that people have found their mentors, lateral mentors, are at conferences. And that is where you're open to hearing somebody talk about something. So it might not be that that's your mentor on that moment. But, back in the day, there was the little black book that you had all your contacts in, and now we have our contacts in our phones. Gather that information because that might be a future mentor for you. It might not be at that very moment, but if you find, you say, oh, wow, this person's somebody I really had a great conversation with. They might have something that 3 months down the line, 6 months down the line is going to be just what you were needing. So keep in mind that when you meet somebody, that they may be the key that you're looking for at some period in the future. So it could be conferences, networking events, family parties, friends parties. Get out of your house. Go out in public because that's where all of your mentors are going to be. Listen to podcasts, email people if you find them to be really interesting and reach out to them. You might find your mentor on LinkedIn. You might find a mentor anywhere that you are able to connect with people. So, social media is a great place. If you are working and you have any opportunity to go out to any event, even if it's a brown bag lunch event, that's where you can do that. So, an example of this is there was a group of judges. And if you can imagine, you cannot be a judge and say, I don't know how to do my case. I'm so unsure of myself. That's not going to work out well.
No.
So if you set up something really easy, and it can be the people that you work with, and you do a brown bag lunch, or you don't even have to pay money for it. People would just come together and do that. You could turn to your left and say, hey, Jim, I know you had this case. Can you give me some guidance? It's much different than reaching out to somebody, cold calling them and saying, hey, I don't know what I'm doing. Can you help me? So setting yourself up to be at places where you can organically talk to somebody and say, can I pick your brain? Can I get your advice on this? What do you think about this? Or just listen to that person and what they have to say, because later on that may be helpful to you. And also, you may be the one that's the mentor in this case. And so keep in mind that somebody may be needing to get mentorship from you and asking you for that. So when they don't think, oh, burden, think, oh, I'm a mentor. And that might be helpful
Yeah.
too.
And you're not asking somebody, hey, will you be my mentor? You're just
No.
collaborating.
It's not collaborating necessarily, but you are asking a person to do that, but in a less weird way. You don't go up to somebody and say, "Hi, want to be my friend?" That's weird.
Right?
But
That
you
is
do
weird.
say, "Hey, I see that you like this sport that I play too. Oh, you'll read this?" You find the commonalities. It's
Right.
literally exactly the same way when you're looking for a mentor, because it's an emotional thing. You have friends because it's an emotional thing. No one has to have one physically to survive, but we need them emotionally. The same with a mentor. So if you approach the person and say to yourself, I'm either going to be a help to this person or they're going to be a help to me. I like them. I would be willing to offer my advice in the future or now. And if you can see yourself in that, doing that, make sure to categorize yourself as a mentor in that case. Because usually the difference with a collaborator is you go in the beginning and say, I want to do this together.
So you're not
And
really
if I'm
asking for help. You're just
right,
partnering up.
you're not collaborating, you're giving your expertise or your values or your culture or whatever it is.
Well, I have to say that two Debras getting together can really talk and go past the time that we're supposed to go. And, because it's Deborah time. We're getting to do what we want. We're very similar in age. And so that's what I always said. It's Deborah time now. I took care of a lot of people and now it's Deborah time. Tell the audience how they can find out more about the Mentor Project and participate. Is it something that you can do nationwide? How does it all work?
So the Mentor Project is free to students globally. So if you're a student, it does not matter how old you are, if you're a student, it's free. So you just click the button, become a mentee on our website, and then off you go. And that's it. It's simple. So go to mentorproject.org. We are run by donations and the support of others. If you're someone who likes to engage in supporting ideas and people, you can support us. And if you'd like to volunteer, we have opportunities for that as well. So check us out.
And is that the same way for somebody that wants to give back and mentor as well?
Yeah. So just click the contact us button and then
Okay.
we'll be able to get back to you. But, last year we were able to give away $3 million of mentorship hours for free in 5 countries.
That's
So we are really
amazing. You're helping
doing this
so
and
many people.
loving it. We're seeing connections that people are having that are meaningful. And you get to see the world change and that you have an impact in the world when you're involved in it. So it's just really nice to be able to have that emotional outlet for everybody and the connection. And you can also check out my book. It's The Mentorship Edge. And a lot of the concepts and things that I have in the book are really good for people to see that work is not the only place for mentorship. We have grandmas are super powerful mentors. And part of that is they are the ones who carry culture, values, those things, religion, whatever one you subscribe to, that has been passed down for centuries. They aren't things that, last Tuesday, this is a new religion. Those things get passed down and we're all doing them the same as they were thousands of years ago. So mentorship is in all parts of our lives. And so the book talks about how we mentor and are mentored in various aspects of our lives.
And can they buy that on your website?
Well, you can get it anywhere you get books. And
Okay.
if you're a person who likes to listen, it's on audiobook also. It's published through Wiley, so you can find it in literally every place you find books.
And we will link to it in the show notes and link to the Mentor Project's website so that everyone can sign up to get a mentor. I think what you're doing is fantastic. I hope that all of the young people that are out there listening will sign up to get a mentor. I can't imagine how much it would have helped to have that when we were young. I don't think it was as big of a deal when we were young, but I am really impressed by it. I'm so grateful for you coming on the show and sharing all of your wisdom. So everyone, please go check out thementorproject.org and donate. If you don't want to be a mentee or a mentor, please donate to. It is a fantastic cause, and we're so grateful to have had you on the show to share our wisdom.
Thank you. It's been a delight to be here and keep making the world a better place. Keep mentoring through your podcast.
I am going to. It took me a long, long time to find my voice, and I am passionate about helping other women find their voice as well and not losing it to begin with, right? I mean, the whole key
We
would
need you,
be,
and we need your voice out there.
well, thank you so much. And everyone, check out the show notes. You can find all my normal stuff in the show notes, link to my free ebook, 5 Steps to Having a Successful Mindset. Those are the 5 steps that I took to change my life. And so you can change yours too. Until next week, we're out.